Greetings, dears. This is the first Sunday, right?
Yeah.
All right, just making sure, because we do this at the Festival of Light as well. It's really good to see this place so lit up. Good work. Behind me. That's lovely. Really lovely. Dripping light, eh? Everything that leads up to a first Sunday in December are the things that make you grateful that another month has come about. So, what are you grateful for that's over with? Nothing. It wasn't a trick question, Bunny.
Well, my first thought was to be thankful that Charlotte has made her transition and is no longer in such pain. And yet it leaves such a feeling of an empty space,
It does.
and there's a hurt there, but kind of makes you want to, accept that all is happening the way it's supposed to, even though I don't always agree with it.
Well, and I feel like it's kind of saying na 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 to you, but I've got her now. And I'm happy about that. For those of you who can appreciate this, Hetty helped bring her over. I thought that was a very, very sweet thing. Sweet, tender. What are you glad is finished? Aye.
Just all the dying and funerals.
Well,
I mean, the whole process, it is very protracted, and exhausting.
And again, I'm sorry for your loss, but I've got her. I'm not sorry for that. You would laugh watching her and know that there is a part of you that is currently with her and laughing with her. She thinks everything is funny. Rest, dear. Just relax. Rest. Oh.
Well, just to dovetail on Brother Dave's comment about death, there's been, I think, 5 now people that I know have passed recently in the last 3 weeks or so, and it really, every time that happens, and it really hit me a lot, in a big way this time, how important it is to live life, how vital and important it is to tell people that you love them, that you care about them, to live your life, because you never know. You never know. Car wreck, we're a heartbeat away.
Right. You like to think that, well, you're healthy, you're going to remain healthy, or, as healthy as you are. You think I'm going to die of old age, I'm very young. Well, as not young as you are. And you forget that you actually could walk outside and have a bus run you over, and there is the end. You never, ever know. And as a result, you live your life like you're going to live forever. And it really makes a difference. And those of you who have recognized portal opportunities and said no, you do recognize how powerful life is, how glorious it is, how great it is, and the opportunities it provides. So that instead of being tired of life, you are grateful for life. That also happens with the death of somebody you love, because you realize that they made a difference in your life, and you want to make a difference in the lives of others. It's one of the ways you grow from everything that comes your way. So, once November has passed and December comes about, and you've got the lovely December first Sunday, that means that you're running into all of the things that go on in December. And what is December about?
Light.
Light, yes. In fact, if I were to say that this month, if there was one thing that the world over that through time has been a consistent factor, it is that this is a season of light. All of your major philosophies, even your earliest people, recognized that this is a time of light. And it is a time in which the darkness has been growing longer until it reaches its pinnacle. And in many ways, you've been seeing that in your own lives. More darkness than you like to think you are having to look at. You're looking at the days growing shorter and shorter as you see the lives of those you love growing short. But this is the month in which that changes, and it changes on every level. It's the month in which the light returns within your hemisphere, and it's a very, very powerful time. And this is a magnificent month. So light, yes, absolutely light. What else?
Connection.
Connection, people, families, friends.
Well, for a lot of people, it's birthdays and half birthday season.
I am pretty certain that anybody with a birthday in December takes no pity on anybody with a birthday in June. So, yes, sure enough, there were actually people born in December.
Well, I'll say it. There's the stress of families getting together, the cooking, the presents, all the hustle, the bustle, the rush, the time constraints. That is also a part of this month.
A very big part of this month tends to be a lot of should. Should. I should do this. I should take care of these people. I should take care of this food. I should. And it's something you've got to be very careful about in your lives. Take care of you. Put yourself into your schedule. Make sure that you give yourself a little time every day to think about what all you are grateful for from that day. That's going to help you release stirred up tension from the stresses that come about from doing so much. So give yourself that quiet time and review your gratitudes. Focusing on what you are grateful for allows you to take away the focus, to de-stress from those things that you're not quite so grateful for. So that's important to remember. What else is this month?
Religious holidays?
A multitude of religious holidays, absolutely. You have Saturnalia, you have the solstice, and all right, you have, sure. You don't much remember Saturnalia, I gather, eh?
No.
Trust me, you used to enjoy it a lot.
Will you say it slowly?
Planet Saturn,
Yes,
Elia.
Saturnalia.
Depends on where you're from. There's other ways to say it. Let's see, how might you say it? Saturnalia.
And what was that a celebration of?
It is an ancient Roman celebration of all that is good in your world, thanks to the gods who are good to you.
There's much debauchery.
Much.
Is that what Saturday's named for?
I'm sure that you have been told it is. That makes sense, but no. Different languages. It is Yule. It is the time that great jolly elf breaks and enters your home after stalking you all year.
Making his list.
In order to make that list. I've always found it a very creepy tradition of yours. You celebrate this person that says, "Come on, child, sit on my lap." Have you been naughty? I can be nice.
Are you going to?
But for the most part, this holiday is really known for your Christmas. And I have heard it multiple times from multiple people. Samael, it was so much fun when you told Christmas stories. Do the one with the animals. So do that tonight on one condition, that you will teach it with me. Because this is a teaching that needs help. It needs audience participation. All right? It begins with the whole idea of the reason that your holiday of Christmas has come about at all. And what is that? Is it about the food, the family, all the presents, the decorated tree, the great many lights, the fat jolly elf that comes into your house down through the chimney? What?
The birth of Christ.
It is about the birth of Christ. Now, Christ is not a name, it is a title. And anybody know what that title means?
Anointed one.
Yes. Ooh, yes. Anointed one. I want you to take just a moment and think about anointed one. What is anointing about? It is a recognition. Glad you said. But it is a recognition that has a particular intent. In many rituals, you have anointed yourselves or been anointed for different purposes. Somebody who has, no, I'm going to do this differently. Go in with your Christmas story. Abraham was the father, ultimately, of the 12 tribes. And out of those tribes, a couple made it, most were lost. But Abraham, who you probably know mainly from the story of God said to sacrifice your son, and at the last minute said, never mind. Right? Abraham's lineage eventually showed itself up in the main characters within your Christmas story, and that would be Mary, whose name was not actually Mary, and Joseph, whose name was not actually Joseph, but works for your mouths.
And there was a donkey too.
Well, in this particular story, there was a donkey, and there were a lot of other characters as well. During this time, Mary is about 14 or 15 years old. She was quite young, and the words are very specific that she was untouched. Now, I would tell you, without a lot of detail, because I don't want it to be the focus of the story, times were very different then. And untouched had different meanings than it does right now. She was an unmarried woman. And we'll just leave it there, pretty much where the storytellers did. And she's in bed one night and has this really interesting dream. And the dream is that while she was sleeping there, all of a sudden, a great light showed up in her room. And there was a being standing next to her bed. And that being said, "Hey, Mary, wake up. I've got something to tell you." Now, I want you to think for a moment. If you were in your room and a big light happened and you saw somebody standing there, would you still be in that bed to hear what it was that one had to say? Brave girl, our Mary. You're going to have a baby, and this baby is going to touch the world. It's going to be an indigo child. This baby's going to change this world. Now, Abraham brought a covenant into the world. Abraham was a time of transition. And that transition at that time was from human sacrifice to animal sacrifice. What Jesus, who became the Christ, was here to do was create yet a new covenant. And that one was there would be no more human sacrifice, there would be no more animal sacrifice, there would be no more sacrifice, because his work was to be that sacrifice, one sacrifice for all, and sacrifice would no longer be needed. That was the purpose. But in order for that to happen, Mary had to become pregnant. So we'll say the angel helped with that, or the alien that showed up in her bedroom. I go more for the alien story. And she has to go to her boyfriend and say, "Joseph, we should go ahead and get married because I'm going to have a baby." And Joseph, being such a good guy, said, "Oh, great! Let's do this." These are the parts of the story you don't usually get. So the time eventually comes that two things happen. One of them is she's pretty much close to having that baby. And the king puts out a notice that you've got to have your numbers counted. You've got to go to what is effectually the county seat, country capital, but really county seat, to pay your taxes and be counted. So Joseph, who now has his own home, has to go and pay taxes. So he goes out to the barn and he says, "All right, what's going to happen here? I need a good strong donkey. All right, I'm going to pause here now because that's not really the story I'm telling tonight. The one I'm telling is how all of this happened from the animal's point of view. So Gwendolyn already pointed out that there is a donkey in this story. What else is in this story? There are sheep in the story. Probably cows and camels. All right. Now, what does a donkey say? How does it sound? More or less, yes. That's a pretty excited donkey there, but sure, yes. And the cows? Let's do that one more time. Some of you are much better at cow sounds than others of you. There are sheep. What? And that was one very young sheep, because they're the ones that tend to go, me. And what about camels? What do they sound like? Yes, they do spit. They sound a little more like, so maybe I'll do the camel for you, all right?
We do chickens too.
Were there chickens?
How about she's gonna do Duck and
And pigs, how are they? I don't think that this is a traditional nativity. So chickens, pigs, sure. Ducks. Well, these are more likely to be sheep helping dogs, so they're not probably the yip, yip ones, more like fighting off the bears, you know. The barn cats. Clearly they are Siamese. Well, you know that there were likely goats. In fact, goats and sheep more than cows, I can promise you. But we're going with cows tonight. But you've got the goats. How do the goats? They actually don't sound just like sheep do. They kind of bleh. So you can do that. Go ahead. A little more eep to it. There, you're good at this. And were the reindeer there? No.
Different story.
So we can't have Rudolph peeking around the side of the manger and showing baby Jesus the way.
Too hot.
Not quite, eh?
How about the elephants that the Magi rode on? Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was camels. It's 3 camels, one named Frankie and one named Mary. Mary, right.
Goldie.
And one named Goldie. Those are good names for camels. You get it, you get it. So, once upon a time, in a magical, special land in which animals ruled, they were a function of the Great One. And they gathered together and they said, "Hey guys, there's something going..." I just about said there's something going down. There's something going on where that love experiment is happening. Have you been paying attention to that? And the donkey said, which translates as, well, of course I've been paying attention to that. You think I'm an idiot? This is big news. They're in a massive transition. And the cow said, which more or less translates to, I really am tired of standing here, but yes, I've been paying attention as well, because that was kind of a sick-sounding cow there. And the sheep, actually you're wrong, sheep never pay attention. The sheep were saying, what? Did somebody say something? I'm busy eating. But that caused the dog to realize that those sheep needed to pay attention. And so the dog said, in translation, get over here, pay attention, this is important. All of the animals started watching that special experiment going on. And before long, while they were all interestedly watching, a great being of light came to them and said, guys, there is an opportunity for service here. This is a place that's going through great transition right now. And it's going to need a few individuals willing to make a difference, that have a really special purpose, and are willing to go down there and help fulfill that special need. Are there any volunteers? Immediately, there was a shuffling backwards. It's one thing to look at it, it's another thing altogether to be there. Standing front and center, because they maybe just didn't know better than to shuffle back. There were a few camels, a lovely donkey, a dog, a cow, some chickens, a few goats, and a few sheep. And there was a pig and a cat and
Maybe some chickens.
got the chickens, and an elephant in there somewhere, you're right. And they said, we'll go. We can do this. And that function of source light said to them, you will be a guardian. Your job will be to guide and to guard, to ensure that this transition functions as it should. They may not know you there, but all the worlds will know you. They will celebrate you. They will remember you. So, back at the story, there's Joseph going into the barn, looking around for a donkey. And it seems like this one sort of stepped right up and said, me, use me. Of course, what Joseph heard was, Truly, it's my favorite part of this story. You're speaking other languages.
Speaking in tongues.
Speaking in tongues, yes. He gets the donkey ready. He brings Mary out. The donkey, of course, takes one look and begins to back up. Are you sure I can do that? No, of course not. The little guardian donkey said, all right, this wasn't exactly what I expected, but I can do this. I can be a part of this greater picture. I can serve in this way. Now, a donkey isn't a ride like a horse is. How many of you have ridden a donkey? A few of you. What kind of difference is it?
Smaller steps.
A lot smaller steps, so a lot more of this.
Bonier back.
A more sloped back and much wider. So we're going to say that Mary very demurely and safely sat sideways, and she did not get motion sick.
Probably induced labor.
So off they go to,
Bethlehem.
you're getting good at this. Well, I think the itch is going to keep up all night.
It's the camels.
It's all that camel hair, of course it is. No, actually what it is, it's probably the heat. All right, watch out, Donna. He's going to make it colder now.
Okay. I've got my hat.
So off they go to Bethlehem. They get to Bethlehem, what's happening? It's crowded.
They can't get a room in the inn.
Everybody and their uncle, literally, are there. Did not book ahead.
Travelocity wasn't there yet.
And the very kind innkeeper said, look, I can tell that this is a tricky situation. I'm really sorry that there are no more rooms. But, you know, there is space in the barn. Now, I know that you like to make that the, oh, woe is them, that's the most pitiful part of the story. But that was actually quite typical at that time. A lot of people slept in barns and thought they were very lucky for it. And the barn wasn't actually much more than simply a covered area that had area to store hay up at the top, to feed the animals down at the bottom, and finding a little nook to be in was pretty common. So there was no insult. It was simply, all right, we'll go to the barn. So off they go to the barn. The donkey's very pleased to have that massive weight off of its back and going to get a little rest. But lo and behold, the barn's full of all these other creatures. There's a cow. and that would be where the chickens would be hanging out. And I guess the pig was nearby. Probably a couple of goats. And unfortunately, one was sick. And yes, forgot to mention that surely there was a horse there. And it was all right. It was a pretty clean barn. They found a place, and sure enough, as soon as you get settled, which should happen, but Mary goes into labor. Now, in your story, all of this happens on the same night, but of course you know that really isn't how it worked, because meanwhile, in a land not so very far away, the great astrologers had been looking, and they recognized that the planets were lining up in such a way, the stars were coming together in such a way that there was a message, and that message was something really big is about to happen. There is going to be an energy transmission that will change this world. I thought you might chuckle with that. You're going to have a new ruler born. So these astrologers said, well, we want to check that out. Let's see what that's about. They found 3 camels.
Frankie, Murray, and Goldie.
You're not even going to try? All right.
Sounds like they're constipated.
If you typically make sounds when you are, then yes, that's probably exactly what they sound like. I've always thought they sounded like they were kind of crying at you. Oh! And they chose to go to where it appeared to them. This was the congregating area. Now, I think that your story says they followed a star. And some of your astronomers have tried to put together that, well, you see, there probably was this comet going by around that time. And that's all right. You can have that.
What animal was that?
No, that was the truth squeaking by there, is what that was. And also, meanwhile, out in the night, there are shepherds guarding their flocks of No, remember, the sheep really aren't talking because all they're doing is eating and not paying attention. But, all right. And the shepherds who, yes, the dogs are keeping the sheep together. Dogs. Yes, good. Big dogs. And so the shepherds are able to sit back for a bit. And as they sit back, they think they're having a dream. Because all of a sudden, trumpets. And more of those alien beings and the great light. And what were they saying?
Behold, behold. Look at here, look at here.
Something's happening. Pay attention to this. This is going to rock your world. Over there, a child was born. Go see it. So they looked around and looked at each other and said, "Did you see that? Did you hear anything just now?"
The original board cam.
Let's go check it out. They whistled up the dogs. Anybody whistle? They whistled up the dogs. The dogs came running. They said, "Gather these sheep up. We're going in." So that caused the sheep to start talking amongst themselves.
Where's my food?
But a few of them were kind of excited. I'm sorry, darling, that is not what an excited sheep sounds like.
A lot of sick animals.
It's such a shame. There's something exciting going on. Do you think this is that thing we came here for? Do you think that this is the reason that we said we'd go? Well, let's check it out. Let's see. So leading that herd were 3 or 4 very special sheep, being led by a couple of very special dogs, following a few shepherds. Now, back at that time, your wealth was measured by the number of sheep and goats that you had in your flocks. You have a lot of equivalents to that these days. Nonetheless, being a shepherd was not a lowly task left to children. It very often involved multiple people, and they had to be strong and observant and adult-sized, because they were fighting off wolves and various kinds of cats, but very large animals. Don't short shrift, is that the word? Shortchange the shepherds. They had a lot of responsibility. All right, that was just an aside. I've just always felt badly that they got so shortchanged. And they make the wee people in the church choir play the shepherds because they don't have anything to do. And they're the heroes here. You would not have the holy sheep if you did not have the great shepherds. And what nativity for Christmas doesn't have sheep in it? Well, that's thanks to the shepherds.
Rewrite, major rewrite. Come on.
Hi. So off they go. You've got the sheep heading that way. You've got the camels heading that way. You've got satisfied cows, chickens, pigs, horses, donkeys already there. You've got Mary, you've got Joseph, you've got the baby Jesus. Now, I'm a little unsure because this part of your story has changed so much over time. There are so many variations within this. But the one I'm going to go with is that the baby Jesus, as an avataric function of source, emitted its own shining light. And we're going to say that the baby Jesus was perhaps Israel's only shining one at the time. And there are more trumpets with angels hanging closely, singing pretty songs. I was afraid you were going to try that. Saying, "This is the place, come here, take a look. Spread your germs on this newborn child. Bring your animals with you, the more the merrier." It sounds a whole lot like a typical family Christmas, doesn't it? Spread germs onto the children, have great amounts of people and creatures of all kinds all coming together, saying, "This is the place, here it is." Now, I think that for the most part, once they all get there, that's your story, right? They all get there, they look at the baby. The astrologers, you call them kings, give gifts. Surely shepherds, animals, everything gave gifts. And that's how you weren't gift giving for Christmas, right? Something like that.
You forgot the little shepherd boy playing the drums over to the side.
Oh, the shepherd boy over to the side playing his drum. The little drummer boy, of course. I did not put that one in.
Oh, Stuart.
He would have been the very tall drummer boy. He would have been hunched like this because he could not quite fit in the stable. The hunched drummer boy. They don't sing about that one, Stuart. So the angels are singing, the drummer is drumming, the trumpets are sounding, and pretty much your story's over at that point, right?
Well, then Jesus grows up really fast.
Yeah. Skip a bunch of years.
They skip a bunch.
And then all of a sudden you've got a grown-up?
There's one chapter when he's 12.
Oh, right, but it's not a part of the Christmas story, right? Your Christmas story is pretty much ended there.
Everybody adores and worships.
You've got a baby, but really, it's not that it's you've got a baby. It's that you've got hope for the world. You've got an avataric function who has stepped forward and said yes. You have one who is willing to bring the Son of God into form. So see that shining baby Jesus who stepped forth and said yes. Meanwhile, those 3 camels, those guardian sheep, those guardian animals are still saying, well, wait a minute. I thought I was here to do something special. I thought that I was going to be the great gift to the world at this time. Have I missed something here? Because it looks like all the attention is going to the kid. I mean, I did not lead that great flock of stupid sheep who have no no idea in the world what is going on, to come and have all the attention go to a baby, and the dog says, me either. I've got to be around all of these people who have no idea that aliens come into your bedroom at night and tell you magical prophecies. I've got to tell the world about the aliens. What's happening? And the cow, and that sick one as well, says, I'm hungry. Is there anything to eat around here? I don't think I'm going if there's not food. I'm special, so you should make it for me. I'm not going to do it myself. And the chickens say, I thought it was about my laying these glorious eggs. I didn't think it had to do with a creature that spits and
Peas.
that stuff. Have I forgotten why I'm here? What's my purpose? It looks like I'm not needed. Well, I think at this point it's probably where your stories come up with sweet things like the cow shared her food or her food bowl. Have you ever thought about that? So that the baby would have a place to lay, and the sheep shared some wool. No, I think I'll go with that baby sheep we heard earlier, the little lamb that cuddled up next to the little baby Jesus to keep it warm, and the dog, I don't know what, licked slime off its face. It's a newborn, something like that. The cat brought it
Mice.
tasty little morsels because that's what cats do. Look what I brought to you, isn't it special? And I took its head off just for you because I know you don't like heads. Because that's what cats do. And I'm sure that all of them did have a purpose. And I'm just as sure that none of the dogs, cats, chickens, pigs, cows, horses, sheep or goats, shepherds, astrologers, I'm sure that not a one of them actually did say, I've forgotten why I've come. This isn't what I thought it was going to be. Wait a minute. You're not leaving me here with all of these unawakened, unpleasant, negative people, are you? I'm sure they did not. That instead they did exactly what they were meant to do. What do you think that was?
They fulfill purpose.
Be themselves.
It was to be exactly what was needed in the moment. In the moment. And if that meant I can give you a ride, I can loan you my bowl, maybe I can give you something to keep you warm, They did it because that's what was needed at that moment. And they did not let an opportunity pass by because goodness knows there were some pretty sick sheep and goats in that crew. Or they did not let it pass by because they were too good to be in the midst of the riffraff. And they even did not let the opportunity pass by because they weren't real sure what their part was in the whole thing. They just knew that they had an opportunity to do what they do best. And that allowed them to be what they were there to be. In a whole lot of ways, my version of your holiday story is about being where you're needed, when you're needed. It's about a life of service because it's what you do best. You are now sitting in the middle of another great time of transition. But this time, the avataric function isn't about one being shining. Unless you want to think of it as the great one made up of many individuals who shine. Because you are the avatar. You are the one here to bring about a new covenant. Here to bring about a change in your world. But the mission of those avatars has never changed. The mission of guardians has never changed. And that is to give love and to help this world recognize that it's not the sacrifice of people or animals or stuff. It's the sacrifice of ego. Not needing to be the one out front, getting all the shine. Being willing to can't resist. Be the donkey. Yes, there is another word for donkey. That's the one exactly that I had in mind. To be the camel, the cow, the dog. To be what is needed to help the story come together. And when you do that, you become the gift that the world needs. And really, the gift that this holiday is about. You've had a whole year of incredible planetary alignments and great stars and massive beings saying to you, hey guys, this is big. You can help change the world. It's brought about a lot of change. Because in order to do that, you've had to let go of a lot of fears. And even versions of who you felt you were, to become who you are ready to be. You've had to learn to sacrifice ego, to become one. And by doing so, whether you see the whole picture or not, you are a part of the greater plan for this planet and all life force on it. You are a part of bringing light to this world. You're a part of giving this world the gift of love. You know, sheep have a tendency to be very, sheep I know about, to be very focused on what they need right now at that moment. Can I get food here? Can I get food here? They often don't notice what's going on around them. When they do, their first response is, run! Be afraid! The sky is falling. No, that's a chicken, isn't it?
They don't want to be dinner tonight.
It's easy to discount them. And it's easy for you to discount yourselves because you see how often you flee. You see how fearful you are.
Retreat.
Run. Retreat is nice. Sheep run. And they can be darn fast. Keep in mind occasionally that sheep, cows, goats, dogs, cats, any of those creatures whose natural instinct is protective and careful, just being where they are is a massive act of courage. To just graze that field goes against every instinct they have that says, watch out, be careful. even sheep, do their service and are courageous little creatures while they do it. Don't get yourself caught up in all the human stuff that goes on this season. But if you do, remember that just staying a little longer until this job is over takes a lot of courage and is really needed. And no, I'm not calling you sheep. I think of you more as bears most of the time. But every one of those creatures had a purpose. And one more time, that purpose was to be what was needed at the moment, to give what they could when it was asked. And that's what you're asked to do. Be the gift this world needs. Look in the mirror. See you at Festival of Light when it will be this beautiful light again. I'm trying something new at the festival. It's not going to be a ritual. I think it will be fun. It's going to be a craft project.
Of course.
Okay.
I'll be the colored pipe stem things that you twist.
No, it will be big glass balls. It's not that hard. No worries. Be the light, be the love, be the gift. Don't be afraid. But when you are, stand your ground, be courageous. Happy trails.